Not all stories are neatly tied up with a bow, and this one digs into a very messy subject: divorce. Before we started the interview, Monica voiced some hesitation. She wasn't sure how to share her story without telling someone else's. Stories can be tricky in that way. They're never one-dimensional. I had a lot of respect for Monica and her delicacy in discussing her ex and the associated events. Still, there's great value in each perspective, in telling a story exactly how you lived it on your side of things. Almost all the time, both sides of the story are still valid, and it takes courage to talk about our untidy, painful experiences. I admired her grace and I valued her honesty. Listen in to her story.
I'm Monica Rodriguez. 3 things about myself. I am a mom of 2 amazing little boys. I am originally from California, and I am an appreciator of all the girly things.
And you are a mom blogger.
Yeah, I am.
So tell me how you got into that.
Yeah.
Tell me where it came from.
Oh man, I actually started before I was a mom, about 10 years now. Been doing it off and on. So I blogged as like a single person, and then I blogged as I documented my entire wedding planning process when I got married, and then what early marriage looked like, and the things that we were doing. My ex-husband and I moved from California to Alabama. Totally different, crazy. We drove there. So I documented all of that and just what it was. I was a stay-at-home wife and mom.
Yeah.
While going through my divorce, it was very hard to walk in truth and in grace of how can I share my story without sharing somebody else's story and being respectful to their side of the story. So I think that since I've been divorced now 2.5 years today, actually. No. So today is my 2.5 years of being legally single again.
That's crazy.
It's been a long process. But since walking through that season, I feel like the words haven't stopped. I think the sharing has been less. I feel like I'm finally at the season now where I'm ready to share more because I feel like I'm over that hump.
Okay.
I've worked through that grief process because grief can take a long time. And in my situation, there was a lot of re-grieving. I grieved when my ex-husband left. I grieved when our divorce was final. Our divorce was very quick. It was a very fast divorce. He got married quickly afterwards, and they started their family pretty soon after that. So it was like every hit that happened, I felt like I had to grieve again. And then even after that, I started walking in other people getting married or other people having kids and still having to grieve again. I fought really hard not wanting to accept the fact that I was a single mom. Like I was just like, nope. I'm a mom and I'm a single, but I'm not a single mom. And everybody just shut your mouth. Yeah, I felt like there was some weird stigma about it, or I felt like I needed to justify myself to people.
Explain your story to everyone.
Yes. Like, oh, I was married. Like, no. It was just like weird. And I don't even think people would outwardly say anything, but it was just this feeling of like I needed to justify it. Like, oh no, my husband left me, guys. Mm-hmm. It's fine. Don't feel sorry for me though. Don't pity me. It's fine. I got this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need help. I got this. And so in my head, I thought like, in a year, I'll be married. Like, surely I'll be married.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm not even going to accept this. Yeah. So I think because I fought on it so hard, it kind of not stopped the grief process. But grieving, I think I grieved the death of my marriage. I grieved that part, but kind of grieving that idea of not being a wife was really hard for me. And I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to think that like, oh man, this was stolen from me. And there is a possibility that this is my life going forward. And now I feel like I've come to that point where it's like, I actually really love my life. Like I'm a single mom, but I love it. Like I love my kids. I feel like I'm more confident now and closer to the Lord. And I feel like I have a story to tell, and there's goodness in it. And like, it's the kind of thing where you think like, God could give me a husband and God could give me more kids, But even if he doesn't, like, he's still good and I'll still praise him. And so I feel like that took way longer for me to like fully accept and walk in.
How did you move on to the new normal?
Practically, it was a lot of acceptance, like accepting that this was my life and creating new routines with the boys. I did not work my whole marriage. There was very short seasons that I worked, but majority, my ex-husband was the primary worker, breadwinner, I guess. Whatever you want to say. He was working outside of the home. It was agreed that I would work inside the home with the kids. So even before I had kids, I didn't work.
That was the plan.
So it was like earth-shattering because he left. And so just creating little traditions for us of just the three of us and allowing myself to heal. I did my church offered like a divorce care class. I took it twice. So it was like, I want to heal, but we have to move forward. I'm grieving a death of 1,000 deaths. Like, that's what it felt like. And having to like see him and then see him with his new wife and then see them with their baby. It was just like, I just can't do it. So it was just like, I think it helped that I had the boys a little bit because it was like, they were my motivator. They need to eat. They need to be taken care of. They need to go to daycare. And I have to go to work and all these things. So it was very much like I just have to get through today. Like every day. Yeah, it was just literally one day. I had an amazing support system, which also helped. My ex-in-laws, oddly enough, are amazing. They moved to Kansas City at the same time that we did. They're amazing, God-fearing people, very much like for me, for their grandchildren. And they helped like live with logistics. They helped financially. Me and the boys lived with them 2 different times. And so it helped because they could recognize when maybe I couldn't do the day. Like I was so deep in it that they could be like, come on, we're going to make dinner. They made dinner every night that I lived there. I think I lived there total for about 9 months after my divorce or during my divorce process. And so it was like they would make dinner, they would help clean, or they would help take care of the boys. So I think that helped very practically at the time because it was like, I have no energy. Because you're wasting so much energy on this emotional trauma and this emotional balance of like trying to gain my footing again. Like, what does life look like? Because I had defined so much of myself onto my ex-husband and onto being a wife and onto my marriage that and even onto being a mom. And then it felt, even though I was still a mom, I was there now sharing custody with my ex-husband and with his family. And so it was like, now what do I do? Yeah. Like everything is stripped away. Yeah. And I felt like nothing. Because I think that a lot of times as women, when their husbands leave, no matter the circumstances, there is this like, I'm not worthy, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not good enough, I'm too much, I'm too loud, I'm too whatever, quiet, whatever it is. So it was really like finding my confidence in God and that thing of like, am I still beautiful if no man is saying I'm beautiful? And so it was really like a paradigm shift for me in that season of really, I was going to the Lord with everything. Like, I cannot parent, I cannot mother without the grace of God. There was no way I could do it. I didn't have enough strength in me to even do the mundane things of cooking and cleaning and taking care of them, putting clothes on them. Because of the circumstances with our divorce and him quickly getting remarried and having another child, I kind of always thought like, this is their stepmom, this is their brother, this is their dad. And so I don't want to ruin a view of their relationship with them because my relationship with their father is not their relationship with their father. Yeah. So I try to be very aware of the way that I'm talking about him to them and the way I'm talking about him to others in their presence. I don't want to speak badly about their dad where they can hear or about their stepmom or any of that because there needs to be respect and they're going to learn that from me. I very own my part in it. Not saying that I drove him away. Like I very much put my ex-husband like on a pedestal type of thing. Like I made him God. I made him like he's the great almighty, and if he's not seeking God, I don't want to surpass him, so I won't seek God. And then I started to get very bitter and stuff. So I think being able to be raw with my kids and be like, Daddy was not perfect, but Mommy was not perfect.
So zoom out, and as much as you're comfortable, can you walk through the situation?
Yeah.
And your marriage and divorce?
Yeah. I was married for 5 years. We had 2 kids in 2 years. We lived in 4 different states in the 5 years we were married.
Gosh.
Yeah. So we moved from California to Alabama to Missouri to Kansas to Missouri back to California, and then California back to here. So lots of moving parts. We started to argue a lot. I think in general marriage, I tell a lot of younger married couples with young children that this is just hard on your marriage. You're sleep deprived. You have this whole other person that's literally you're their life source. So it's just hard on a marriage. But we were kind of like, okay, we're settled. He had a good job here.
Yes.
We're going to stay in Missouri. Let's kind of let the dust settle and let's like work on our marriage. And so we started a marriage class called Love After Marriage that a church offers here. And we started it. He was becoming very close with someone at work. So in March of 2016, it was kind of like, we just wanted different things, I think. He had grown very angry at me, is what he's told me since then. And I was very confused and working through all of my emotions. I had a little bit of like postpartum anxiety after both boys and stuff. And so it was just, we couldn't see the light, I think. So he did make the choice to leave. I was very much wanting to work on our marriage. So I went to California in April. So the very next month we separated, like I moved out with the boys. And then in April I went to California to visit my sister for 2 months. And I was very much like, when I get back, we're going to work on our marriage. And then I came home in June, and that's when he served me with our divorce papers. And then later found out that he, after we separated, he started dating somebody. And then the divorce process was only like 4 months. It was very short. And then he did remarry a couple months later. And then they had a son also. So it was a lot of things that were all happening. So yeah, it was, and my sons were, 1 and just turned 3. And then I moved in with my in-laws and stayed with them for a season. So, I mean, devastation, doesn't even remotely define it. It was earth-shattering. 'Cause I was very confident when I came back that we were going to restore this thing. I was going to see God move mountains. So there was a little bit of a season where it was like, God, where were you? You literally left me here, looking like an idiot. I looked so dumb because I'm telling my friends, I'm going to go back. We're going to be restored, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're humiliated and you're broken. And it felt like my heart was shattered and then drug through the mud and then put on display. That's what it felt like to me. It's oh my gosh, not only am I getting divorced, but it's super publicized that I wasn't enough. And that's what it felt like. It was super publicized for everyone to look and and comment that Monica wasn't good enough. So it was a very, very dark season for me of just not feeling good enough, feeling very abandoned, feeling very rejected. And I had dealt with that without even realizing, from childhood, of those same recurring feelings.
Where did that come from childhood?
My mom is an alcoholic and an addict. My dad was also an addict. So I got taken away when I was 4 or 5 from their care. And so it felt like they abandoned me. Even though it wasn't like their choice because I was taken from their care, it still felt like an abandonment.
The choices that they made.
Abandoned me. They chose something else. So then like looking back, I was like, oh yeah, my parents chose substance over me and stuff. And so I did go to counseling. I don't know how I survived it really, because it was very hard. Yeah. When she had their son, I was like in turmoil because I wanted another baby so bad. And then it's like, not only do you get a baby, but like, I don't even have that option now. Like that option is stolen from me. I don't even have an avenue to have another child. So it's like that grief all over again. And, yeah, I mean, it's really just sitting in the brokenness of what I'm feeling and really grieving every type of loss. I had to grieve every loss, like
so
over and over again.
Was there a specific point you remember where you felt that freedom of, oh, I've dealt with these feelings of rejection and abandonment, and now I'm free?
Yeah.
Or is that a continual process? Do you remember kind of?
I think a lot of it is a continual process. There's still times that I'll cry and get upset and get mad. Because I'm like, I wanted another baby and I wanted to be a wife and blah, blah, blah. There was just like a moment, probably a year and a half after, where I was like, I didn't cry about it. Like I could talk, I could say I was a single mom. I could say that I was divorced without crying. And I think that was such a big deal to me because prior it was like, I couldn't even say the words without if this interview would have happened 2.5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to talk through it. But I think it's just really like laying down my life for the Lord and feeling like his grace and his strength, and like his strength is made in my weakness. And I felt very weak throughout that whole entire process. And really finding my worth in who he says I am and not what anybody else says I am. And my marital status does not define who I am. It doesn't define my ability to love or be loved or a mother or any of that. It's just been this breaking of myself to be rebuilt into the woman that God always meant for me to be. Now, do I believe that this was God's plan all along? No, I think that God is for marriage, but I think that God's going to work everything out for the good. And I feel like I'm walking in that good now.
If you enjoyed Monica's story, you'll be interested to know that she has started the Arise podcast, where she encourages others walking through difficult circumstances. You can also follow her journey through her blog and social media, all linked in the show notes today. Keep an eye out on our website for upcoming bonus content, including a guest article and video interview with Monica. Are you a part of our Patreon community? We have a whole behind-the-scenes group where we discuss episodes, host Q&A sessions, share bonus content, including the full uncut interviews. We run giveaways and discounts on merchandise, and more. Starting at just $3 a month, you gain access to the private community and help us keep this platform running so that we can tell more stories. Check it out in the show notes today. Music for the show was created by Nathan Hall and artwork by Ashley Crutcher and Jenny Brewster. You've been listening to You Never Asked.